Hey guys, how's it going? Connor here, also known as Movie Snapper. Uh, Back with another video. I know it's been a little while. And my video is the dog tags book tag done by Paul over at Geeks Love Dogs. Real cool guy. And he did tag me, and so, I've finally written it all up. So we have tags K1 to K9. I do have my dog here on the side. Answering different things. So I've got each one and I'll say what they are and then give my response. So starting with K1, Playful Pup, a lighthearted fun book. I haven't read a lot of books over a long period of time. Reading is always something I've fallen in and out of. But one I always remember laughing a lot at was Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. I'd not really read any humorous books besides the first Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And, just the humor in this is quite clever. I really liked it. I haven't read a lot of Discworld stuff. But one of the things that really made me laugh toward the beginning was when they're describing how the disc riding on the back of the giant sea turtle, and how this whole theory came about. What happens when these space turtles mate? It's called the Big Bang, and that's when a new world is born. So there you go. Anyway, yeah. So Color of Magic. So K2, we have Pill in the Peanut Butter, a book you thought you'd love but didn't. So really easily I could say The Circus of Dr. Lau, which was one I reviewed a little earlier. I was quite excited to read that and was thoroughly disappointed, but I thought a little bit further back toward the beginning of the year. I think it was the end of last year. The Diamond Throne by David Eddings. Some people might find that surprising because I know it is a very popular fantasy book, at least my reviews online, once I've read and seen. I don't know. I can't put a finger on one point, right? So I listened to the audiobook and it was narrated really well. It fell flat. And I don't exactly know how. It just did. Like, even though a lot happens, it felt like nothing happened. If that makes sense. I've got the second book on Audible, which I will give a listen to. I do want to give the series another shot. It's a shame because I really was really really taken on by the reading bug again, and started finding some of you booktubers and a few others, and was really wanting to get back into reading. And I'd been listening to the Lord of the Rings audio drama on Spotify. So when I signed up to Audible, I thought, hey, let's try another fantasy series, and that's the one I picked because it reviewed quite well, and it just felt like nothing. So K3, Puppy Dog Eyes, a book that pulled on your heartstrings. So, like I've said, I haven't read a lot over a long period of time, and I don't read a lot of books that have very high emotional impact. And that might say something about me, I don't know. But I do clearly remember a point that hit me really hard reading it as a kid. It was when Sirius Black died in Harry Potter. This is going back a long time ago. Spoilers for anyone that didn't know. But, he's Harry's godfather, and Harry obviously had a very tough life and lived with his auntie and uncle that pretty much had his guts. But, he and Harry were talking about setting up their life together, and Harry could live with him and finally live with someone that actually cared about him and loved him. And, when I read his death, that was probably the first big death in a book series too that I'd ever read. I mean, I'd already read books where characters died, but they were mainly the bad guys. And that one really hit me, you know. So it's more a moment than a whole book. But, you know, I'll give it what it's due. That hit me a lot as a kid. I was only in primary school. 11 when I read that. So K4, loyal companion. A character that would complement your life and personality as a companion and friend. So there you go. I start all my answers with the word so. Crack from Cenotaph Road. So that's the first book in a series I've read recently, and I've got the review up on my channel. He's this giant, depressed spider that basically is constantly saying, "Oh, woe is me, I may as well roll over and die. What's the point in life? Nothing brings me joy and happiness." Not saying, you know, that's how I feel, or that's what I suffer from. But he's written in a comedic way. And it's entertaining. And then he's like, "Oh, all humans are annoying. Humans are inferior." And then, you know, he's also written as immediately loyal to his friend Lan, the main character, and a competent fighter. So if I had to, oh, that might make me sound funny, but you know, he'd probably get annoying after a while having someone always complain like that. But he was a lot of fun when I read the book, and I know he's going to be my favorite character in the whole series, and so I look forward to reading more of him. I just think he'd be a lot of fun, maybe not permanently as a companion, more so just like one you catch up with every once in a while to be able to hang out with, and then go our separate ways. K5, Chasing Your Tail. A book you keep inexplicably returning to. So there we go again. I don't read a lot, and I barely reread because I don't read a lot. But I'm gonna kind of take my own interpretation on this. Instead of a book I keep going back to keep reading, a book that I read a little while ago that has stuck with me, pretty much stuck with me ever since, is Hot House by Brian Aldiss. This is one of the books that, you know, brought me back out of a non-reading slump, and it's a lot of fun. It's pretty much like a caveman odyssey kind of journey. It's far-flung future. Half the world is covered by this one giant tree, and most of life has evolved into some kind of plant hybrid or complete plant offshoot, right? The moon is tied to the earth by these webs from these giant spiders that, you know, ride up to the moon to die, and they, you know, stuff like that. I'm going to do a proper review on it later because I absolutely loved it, and it's stuck with me ever since. You could say not a lot happens because it's a lack of plot. It's an adventure story. They go on a thing, they find out some stuff, and then they kind of end up back where they started by the end of it. But the journey along the way, and Brian Aldiss's world building and the way he just describes everything and the way it all flows and seeing how the world has changed, I just loved it. It was, you know, I was in raptures the entire time. K6. Hopefully Stevie doesn't react to this. Go Walkies. This is somewhere you'd like to be able to walk your dog through. And because Paul mentioned Faerun, I'd have to go with Athos from the Dark Sun setting. I kid. The Shire, it probably sounds very stereotypical or very obvious. But if I could skip, you know, pretty much any of the bad part of Middle Earth, the Shire, beautiful. I think that would be a really nice place. But then another world, I haven't read this book in years, but it's one of those books, I keep remembering and need to go back to, is The World in the 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear by Walter Moers. I think that's how it's pronounced. Put the picture up. It's this really, it's a fun adventure novel. You literally follow the character Captain Blue Bear from a baby all the way through to a young adult, and it's just, and each life is the main chapter, is a chapter, and each one is just a fantastical journey or adventure within this whole bigger book. That was a lot of fun. It's really whimsical and weird. There's characters with brains outside their heads, and the more brains they have, the smarter they are. And you got the chroma bears, which is what Blue Bear is, and these rainbow bears he finds again later on. Of course, there's some dangerous parts in it. You got these miniature pirates that were literally, I think, this whole, a lot of fun. I'll have to go back and reread it and share my thoughts, but that's a book that has stuck with me for 20 years or so. That was a lot of fun. Then we have K7, He's Got Fleas, a character that irritated you to no end. In Cenotaph Road, the first book, there's this character Velika. So Lan rescues her and another character, Onyx. In terms of shallow characters, she's probably the most shallow in the entire book. She's this woman that continuously cries out about Lan being in trouble, starts calling him Lord and Master and stuff like that. And she just keeps throwing herself around. Oh, I'm in danger. Oh, this is happening. Oh, that's happening. And it just keeps going, run away with me, ditch this life, money, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there's more things to her. She had this weird power when she cried and Lan touched her teardrop. His finger burned it and was like hypnotized by her or something. I'm sure she's going to come back in this series, but she was just really annoying. It's not like the characters in the first book, at least, were very deep, but she was very annoying. And then we have K8, Best in Show. So basically your favourite fictional dog. If Luggage from Discworld doesn't count, I do have another one. And it's Rumo from Rumo, another book by Walter Moers, in the same world as 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear. He's technically a Walpertinger, which is, in these books, it's a dog with little antlers or horns on the top of its head. And he's the main character, and he does another big journey as well, an adventure like Captain Blue Bear. But it's also much darker. Like, he ends up going to the underworld, and there's brainwashing and lots of killing in this series, in this book. And that's another one I'd love to go back to and share with the channel. But I just remember he was just a really fun character. There was tragedy, there was humor, he was lost, trying to find a place to belong. And he just, it warmed my heart when he got what he was fighting for and what he was trying to achieve the whole book. And then K9, Pick Your Pack. I'm not going to tag anyone. I feel like I just don't want to step on people's toes. But if anyone watches this and they hadn't seen Paul's original video or didn't know it was a thing and would like to do it, go ahead and do it. You could find some fun there. So yeah, that's my dog tags book tag, K1 to K9. I have to think a little bit, only because I haven't read anywhere near the amount some of the other booktubers have accomplished in their lifetime. But there's nothing wrong with that, It made me remember some things as I was digging through my brain. And, books that I think about or have thought about for a long time, like Captain Blue Bear and Rumo, you know, like most things, they fell out of the back of my head for a long time. But then getting to think about them, it brought them back to the front of my mind. I was like, hey, yeah, I'd love to go back to that. So, yeah, thank you, Paul, for tagging me in the book tag, dog tags book tag, and getting me involved. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing it. Hopefully, the video was alright, and you liked all my answers and responses. Till next time, keep enjoying what you're reading and enjoy your life. Thank you.